Hello and welcome to MenTALK. I'm your slightly unshaven host, John Salmon, and today I'm going to be talking to some remarkable men championing men's mental health through a wide range of initiatives. Our conversation will be open, funny, inspiring, hopeful, and honest. And I don't know about you, but these times of lockdown, my mental health has certainly taken a bit of a battering over these last few weeks. So I'm sure some of the things that we do talk about will maybe slightly triggering or may actually encourage you to actually get help if you need it. If you do need to speak to someone, there's amazing professionals out there, and the Samaritans can be called on 116 123. You can text shout 24/7 on 85258 and text somebody if you don't actually want to pick up the phone. And hubofhope.co.uk is a great website that can signpost you to a whole host of resources for mental health. So with that all done, I'd love to introduce you all to my amazing guests today on MenTALK. So with no further ado, Anthony, Martin and Ben, how are you all doing?
Very well, thank you.
Very good.
Really good. So I guess, you know, when we've done MenTALK events, you know, normally we would have an audience in front of us. And, you know, this is, you know, we're having to kind of adapt at the moment to how we communicate and do events. So it's brilliant that we're all here. Fingers crossed technology will hold out for the next hour as we talk through a wide range of subjects around kind of men's mental health. Firstly, I guess it'd be really good to kind of, you know, let the audience know a little bit more about what you're doing. And firstly, I guess most importantly, how you're currently feeling today. So over to you, Anthony. Just yeah, tell us how you're feeling and a little bit more about the work that you do with the Whole Man Academy.
Certainly, thank you, John. And no pressure on us chaps, because you said it was going to be interesting and funny. So we'll try and get a mixture of those two. But certainly, I mean, for myself, I'm feeling good. I'm very lucky that I live out in the countryside at the moment, so we've got a lot of open space around us, which is priceless. And we also have two little boys, and it's, you know, more for the kids at the moment, being able to kind of let off steam. Or one of them's just crawling around like a little slug because he's only 7 months old, but the other one is 3 years old and is doing everything that 3-year-olds should and shouldn't do. So it's good, but it's challenging for us all because we're all working from home. And like any of us, you're dealing with, I'm always recording podcasts and live Zoom calls, and you've got babies crying in the background, and you've got hedge trimmers next door and tractors going past. So it's, as you said, it's the time to adapt. And I've certainly learned a lot in the last, I say 3 weeks. It's now what, 6 weeks or something like that. We've been.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? You kind of, yeah, I've definitely deliberately not counting now. But yeah, however many weeks it is.
That's right. I think it's all rolled into one now. And a brief bit about myself. I spent just under 20 years working in the city in London for different companies in the financial sector. So as a broker, as a trader. A couple of years before I left, I pretty much decided I was quite unfulfilled. And the environment I was in was, for want of a better word, fairly toxic, because you're expected to you were just judged on how much money you made every day, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it can get quite draining after a long few years of it. And around that time, I found personal development, life coaching, Tony Robbins, etc. And that started me on a path where I got back in touch with my friend who is called Matthew Shaw, who's the BBC News or Futures news editor. And he and I are very good friends. And we got talking and realized that for him, he's very much interested in mental health. And I know you know Matt as well. That what problem are we trying to solve? And it was actually, to start with, the simple one that guys don't get together to talk. And on a high level, I mean, they talk at maybe the football or at work or, you know, fill in the blanks. But actually, on a deeper level, most of it's kind of just the stuff that just gets kind of brushed over. And we started events in London back in September 2018. And now it's kind of snowballed. So now we have David Gandy, who obviously is the international style icon, as our global ambassador. We've been sponsored by Gavin Thorpes and the London Sock Company, and we started a podcast. And it's all about now getting guys together and helping them do life better.
Great. Yeah, it was an honour to speak at one of your events, and I've definitely benefited from one of your partners in now having a better pair of socks. So thank you for that goodie bag.
Pleasure.
Some good partners there as well that's backing what you're doing. And we've got a short video, so we'll just kind of play that now, so you can actually see some of the other work that Anthony just talked about.
My advice to men is give yourself definitely time off from social media. One of my biggest things is if you put yourself in the public eye, like I have, then you have to respect people and you have to respect attention. We should be, the fashion industry should take more responsibility. I try to take that responsibility on myself, because I think the fashion industry does enough.
I always try and get my story down. It's a 28-year story down to a 1 minute. 10 years ago, my dad took his life, and it was a very sudden suicide, in the fact that I always say he had everything on paper.
My sort of strong feeling when I was listening to Paul is that we need to drop our cover stories.
That means that some magazines are never ever going to take me on, having said that. But it's that's something I'm comfortable with. But I think it's about accepting less. I think perfectionism is a killer. I think I'm constantly changing. I think I will constantly change. I think one of the biggest things for men is not be stubborn, is be open.
Great. Thanks, Anthony. Right, Martin, you're up next. Again, thanks so much for your time this morning to chat with us. Yeah, again, similarly, how are you feeling? How is it in lockdown? And it'd be brilliant, again, if you tell us a little bit more about the Book of Man and the truly inspiring work that you've been doing the last couple of years with that.
Yeah, well, today's been pretty good. I've been busy, you know, I've got 2 kids as well. They were 7 and 4. So the days are full, and the nature of what I do is online anyway, so it's relatively been untouched by what's been happening in terms of lockdown. So it's kind of been business as usual, but having to deal with 2 children as well around the clock. So I don't know, we're chalking it off like prisoners. We're literally doing the, you know, 1 day at a time and scrolling it off. And we're 50 days in as of yesterday, I think. But by this stage, kind of got into a nice routine with it. Like when it first came in, it was a really, really heavy sort of time, and everyone's very worried. And then also you had the added pressure of like, oh, I've got to school the kids. Like, how can I do this? And we've kind of got through that bit now. And luckily enough, we've kind of been untouched, personally speaking, by anyone sort of getting ill. So I'm sort of one of those weird people where it kind of feels a little bit unreal in that sense. So that, yeah, as time gone on, kind of got used to it. We're into a little routine of kind of learned that actually this is just family time. It's valuable family time. Like, there's home learning there, and hopefully his teachers aren't watching this, but like, we're not going mad for that. It's just kind of being together and having shared experience, and that and treating that as a valuable thing. And also not trying to, you know, write a sitcom or anything, just, you know, get through the days and try to, you know, keep upbeat as possible. So yeah, so today's been pretty good on that. And the Book of Man is it's not a book, it's a website. It's a men's magazine, which is just online. My background is in men's mags. I was at Shortlist magazine for a few years, and The Enemy and places like that. So this was my own sort of launch, my own business, and it was intended to kind of intersect with a couple of major things that were kind of happening in the world of men. Firstly, the kind of mental health crisis, and kind of the work that Calm had been doing around the suicide stat of, 75% of suicides being men, biggest killer of men under 45 in this country. So I just kind of wanted to, with a magazine, kind of look at that as a consistent thing and kind of understand how that could possibly happen. So we do look at mental health, but we also look at masculinity in general, like, you know, how we're brought up as kids, relationships with fathers, work, all these different pressures, to kind of try to understand how far it kind of goes, and try to understand it, not through solutions, although we like to have advice, but just to kind of understand it a bit, basically. And part of the big reason for that is just getting people, again, to just talk about it, or write about it in our case. We just kind of get as many voices as we can, just telling their stories about what happened to them. Every person's story is different. The majority of people have had some kind of experience of mental health issue at some stage of their life. And I think it's just really helpful to know that other people have been through a similar experience to what you have. So that's kind of the crux of it, really. And then, we started doing events and podcasts and things like that. But essentially, we're just trying to build ourselves up as just a really nice resource, really, for men to go to and try to get their head around whatever it is they're going through. Great,
really good. And have you got any good partnerships going on? We had freebies with socks from Anthony. I think the website is vast. There's some amazing contributors as well that you've got writing for the Book of Man. How's that going?
Yeah, it's good. We've got columnists like Professor Green does a column for us. Jason Fox, who's on SES Who Dares Wins, who's also doing a podcast for us, which is going down really nicely. I always think it's great when you get these kind of tough guys, and like the David Gandy, kind of guy, where they look great and they're tough guys and they look amazing. But once they start showing that actually I've had really dark times in my life, or sometimes I just feel a bit bad and it's not all what you expect, I think it can be quite a powerful thing. So that's part of it. And we're doing, we're hopefully doing a festival event as well in a couple of weeks. So that should be quite good. I can't say too much about that.
Well,
it's not that it's interesting, but
I'm sure it'd be great. So and similarly, let's just watch this little clip about the Book of Man.
When you look at the Book of Man, you feel something's in the air at the moment that is enabling people to talk about things that's going to blossom out, and the whole of society, the whole of the community, the whole of the world is actually going to benefit from that, I think. The Book of Man is a media brand that talks about the issues that aren't better left unsaid for men. We really want to bring these kind of conversations that we're having on the site into a live space. That's the idea behind these nice, friendly events, but dealing with real issues.
Great. Wow, that looks pretty cool. And Martin, I'm sure you'll let us know the moment about that festival as well. So, Ben, I saw a child sneaking in just a second ago. So, as Martin talked about the juggle that is working from home, and some of us, are used to working from home, but the added element of children thrown into the mix makes it a little bit tricky sometimes. How are you? And tell me a bit more about the work that you've been doing with Talk Club.
That was I've got 3 under 7. And it's all a bit full on, isn't it? We're Talk Club is a talking movement for men, founded out of my film that I created about my childhood best friend taking his own life, and trying to create a positive documentary for male mental fitness. And then we created Talk Club. So Talk Club is we've got 32 groups now around the world in just under a year. We've got an online community of nearly 1,300 men, and we all build it out of this thing of how are you out of 10? So we try and use this scoring system. So when you ask me how I am, my automatic reaction is to give you a number. So I'm sort of I'm a good 8. I think I'm a good 8. I sort of I've been up and down throughout this sort of time, mainly because of just trying to do that juggle between sort of families and sort of and work. And we've just released a single, so that's been pretty full on. Sort of, you can see my T-shirt, "Soul to Save." So we've just released a single. So it's all sort of so that's sort of pushing forward. We just, it's just as a community, we're pretty full on. But it's.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit more, because I think the first time we got to talk to each other was about the work that you had done with Steve, the documentary. Tell me a little bit more about, what went into that and how you've actually got that documentary shown around the country. It's quite spectacular numbers of people that have now actually seen that documentary.
Basically, where I'm a problem solver. So I grew up in advertising, and then I became a filmmaker because I looked at things and I was like, what is the problem I can solve? How can I solve that problem is basically the way that I attack everything. And then with Steve, I read this article that when Steve took his life, it took me a long time to get round that and get over that. And I read an article that said that men of my age watch sport and documentaries, so I'm gonna make a film. And then it was like, okay, well, I'll make a film, but then what do I do now? Do I just sort of give it to Netflix and then let Netflix take care of it all? That's not the way that I attack things. So I decided to do it as a pub tour. So I've toured it for the last year. I've toured it up and down the country, going from everywhere from Aberdeen to Falmouth, and from a Cat B prison to Coots, the Queen's Bank. And I got to screening 49 just before the lockdown. We were going. I was about to have screening 50 on the Tuesday, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing. We sort of like thousands and thousands of people have seen it now. But what's more importantly, I've sat with them and we've had a really open and honest conversation afterwards. And that has been, it's almost like a Trojan horse to get men talking. Because if I'm in a pub with them and they're having a drink and they're sort of feeling more relaxed and they're more likely to open up about their mental health. And then I indoctor them into, introduce them to Talk Club. And then what we see is we actually see after a screening, we see the spike of these, of people joining, of men joining Talk Club. So it's a sort of very almost anti charity way of doing things, because we're trying to sort of go, look, I'm going to go to you, I'm going to talk to you on this sort of one-to-one level, serious level, but actually go, look, to speak isn't weak. I mean, we use the words mental fitness, which I know a lot of us do, but we hammer that home: mental fitness, mental fitness, because as soon as you say mental health, men go, I don't know what that means. And so we have a lot of that with, if you say fitness, then suddenly you can be unfit and super fit, and you can be strong, and you can be weak. And sort of when you start looking at your weak mental fitness, then suddenly you go, I need to work on that. So like your physical fitness. So that's a lot of what we've been doing. I mean, there's 6 of us in Talk Club, so we share a lot of that load. My wife is one of those, so so this time is quite challenging because we haven't got very much time, either of us. But yeah, it's been a good year. It's been a good year.
Yeah, it's great. And the music single as well, I guess, kind of moving on from the documentary, was that the idea again with the song as another way to kind of, you said, like a Trojan horse, or finding another way in to get men to kind of start to open up more? Tell me a bit more about the song.
My mum's a therapist, and my mum's like the queen of our movement, if you like, and she's sort of a big quite big in the counselling community. And she's always said to me, go where the energy is. So when Gav, who's one of our founders, is a singer-songwriter and did a lot of work in the past in that world, and he actually wrote all the music on the we met through the film. He wrote a lot of music I used on the film, and he sort of said, I've written a song inspired by Talk Club, inspired by being in the room with 8 to 10 men and hearing people open up and hearing men open up and talk about things. And so he wrote a song, and we sort of said, let's so we were actually, when I first heard it was last October. We recorded it pre-Christmas, and we mastered it, like, massive label involved. We got mastered at Abbey Road, and and it sort of went all like that. And then suddenly, obviously, the lockdown kicked in, and so this is meant to be when Gav's meant to be, who's the singer songwriter, is meant to be out on the road promoting this. And but then obviously now the rules have changed so much, and because obviously May's a very turbulent time for male suicides, and we wanted to make sure that when we were hitting this month with Mental Health Awareness Month, Steve took his life in the end of May. It's a very strange month for especially for men and for numbers. So we wanted to make sure that we could sort of get men in to Talk Club through that. And then obviously now we're in this bizarre lockdown, and lots of men are worrying about their mental health. That's what we're seeing on this community every single day, every single hour. How men are finding it hard to some of them finding it very hard, but men are finding it hard to deal with it, and we're hopefully an outlet for them. Yeah,
it's, as you say, it's by creating these safe spaces where people feel that they can kind of open up. And as you say, I love the fact that you've been from like some of the in prisons right to the most kind of the richest of establishments. So what I'd like to do quickly is just play a short clip of that music video. So Ben, if you could just introduce it for us.
So this is Gavin Thorpes and Talk Club's Soul to Save.
And we've all got a soul to save. We've all got a soul to save.
Brilliant, Ben. And I guess we can listen to that on Spotify, and that's on all the big main streaming platforms.
Yeah. Buy it, please buy it. If you buy it, then we've got more chance of getting to number one. And all the donations go to keep Talk Club moving and going. So yeah.
Okay, well, I will definitely buy that, and we'll put a link in. So if anybody does want to, buy that, and let's try and get it to number one. So I want to kind of open up the conversation now, really, and kind of understand. We've talked about Martin. You mentioned some of the statistics there around male suicide, and it's the biggest killer in men under the age of 45. I think it always kind of surprised me when I started talking about my own mental health. I realised that it benefited me personally to kind of open up about what had happened to me when I had been ill, and the death of my dad when he to suicide when he had depression. And I can really relate to what we're all talking about here, is creating these safe space for men to talk really helps. But I've been talking about men's mental health for 3 or 4 years now. Similarly, all three of you have been doing a lot of work in this space, but men are still finding it really tough to talk. And what do we think, kind of especially now in this period of lockdown? Are you finding your male friends are talking more openly about their feelings? Martin, kind of just talk to me a bit more about how we can actually get those numbers down, that people are actually seeking help or talking to a friend earlier.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's definitely difficult at the moment, because I think as you probably all know, although it seems quite funny a lot of the times, but men often do need an activity in order to talk, in the classic bit of sport or bit of football, which often gets mocked, I think. But it just really does work. And I think, a lot of the charities really, that's where they really find that's the best scenario that they could hope for. And you just have to play with that. So without that, I think it has been difficult. I actually think technology in this case has been pretty good in that sense. I spend half my time bemoaning social media and technology. I want to take it back to the dark ages. But actually, this kind of thing has really made a big difference, I think. So it's been quite good for that, And I think, again, especially in the early sort of days, I was checking in. I was phoning my mum like twice a day when it would be like, you know, Christmas or something. Well, no, not that bad, but you know, once a week.
Yeah.
But suddenly I'm talking to her constantly. I'm talking with mates who I haven't spoken to for ages. I'm suddenly reconnecting with everyone all over again, just to check in, make sure everyone's okay. So, so in that sense, I think that, you know, it's really hard, I think, to talk about this whole crisis and kind of like go, oh, but there'll be a good side, because it's a disaster. There's like no good side. It's been awful. But one of the things that you want to be able to take from it, I think, is that communication that I think I'm certainly finding a lot more. I mean, I don't know whether it's the case with everyone else, and they still get the, you know, daft stuff being shared on WhatsApp groups, but there's definitely a little bit more going on, and there's little individual chats, and I don't know, it just feels like people are definitely more attuned to it. I would say that in the UK at the moment, men in general are more attuned to mental health chat, because it has been so high profile and hitting rugby grounds and football grounds, so it's kind of there. I just feel like men often still want to talk but don't really know how particularly to do it, and it's quite a difficult thing when you're just not used to it. So
Martin,
yeah,
I think you made a really good point there, and fun enough, I spoke about this to someone earlier that, and I'm not saying every guy likes sport, and I know enough that don't, but you know, a huge amount of guys either have their weekends or even their evenings built around either playing or watching sport. And it's, you know, it's firstly, it's a social thing, maybe with the guys at the pub or what have you. But also I describe it as like a pressure release. You know, you go and play football at the weekends or whatever sport it is. And at the moment, you know, for us all, someone said it's like being a caged lion, because you're missing the sport, the after sport, you know, everything that goes with it. And it's like you said, it's one of those things to be considered, because some people think, oh, well, it doesn't matter. Be like, a lot of guys build their identity also around their, you know, their football or their rugby teams or whatever it is. And it's been taken away from them for the moment.
Yeah. Well, we know one of the things that does work with mental health, and which has definitely worked during this whole lockdown, is exercise. Like, I don't do any, I'm terrible. And I've done it just as a thing. And I'm just like, I feel incredible. I feel, well, you know, I don't look incredible, but, you know, I feel a hell of a lot better than I did before.
Yeah.
And I think that you know, exercise really is a beneficial thing for mental health. Men exercising together, jogging together, whatever it is, that's not a bad thing. I think that's quite a good thing. Again, very easily mocked, you know, the big gangs of lads down the high street with the, you know, the muscles and the fluorescent shirts and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of quite easily mocked. But I just think it's, you know, rather that than, you know, drinking yourself half to death, you know, I think it's, I think that's pretty good.
Bit of camaraderie.
Yeah.
I think kind of
I've got is I'm a hugger.
Oh, go for it, Ben. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think I'm slightly lagging behind you guys, but I'm a hugger. When I see my mates, I want to hug them, and I did some stuff today, some press work today with some people that Hints Jacket, and when I automatically saw them, I wanted to give them a hug, and I find it really, really hard not hugging my mates.
Well, John, the hugging thing, and I see what Martin thinks about this as well. You know, I'm the same. I see my mates and I'm hugging them, and you know, it'll be interesting to see how many people don't do that when we're all allowed to get back out. But actually, for a lot of us, you're missing. If you take some of my friends, they're single, so they haven't had someone else touch them. Sounds a bit weird, but you see what I mean. No hugging, no human contact for maybe 6 weeks now. Whereas for guys like us that have got a family and kids, I mean, I spend half my day hugging the kids because they're crying or they want something, or you hug your partner. And I think that's something as well that, you know, for maybe for guys that haven't got some with them, you know, for a lot of us, you're missing that bit of comfort that I think we all need at some point.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a hugger. I'm really sort of stiff and English. So, but I've definitely tried to do it a bit more, you know, over recent times. So it's quite a good thing. Again, it's that, without going on about sport again, but I like displaced activities. So that's why I like going to a gig or a football match. It occurred to me, I went to see Liam Gallagher at the O2, and I'm not the biggest Oasis fan or Liam fan, but I do like him. But it occurred to me that no one was there to listen to the music, especially not his solo stuff. Everyone was there with a big gang of mates just to jump on each other and hug each other, and kind of, have this
Big
massive
night out.
have this massive sort of release. And I kind of thought, well, that's valid. If you need an excuse to grab your mates and tell him that you love him, but it has to be in a setting of a concert or a gig, then all right, it's not ideal, but fair enough. You do
whatever works.
Yeah, and you kind of got to work with the tools that we've got, right? I mean, hopefully we will, through this process and through schooling and things, start to see a different generation coming through who probably won't feel quite embarrassed and shameful of going to that level. But we're not there yet, for us, middle-aged chaps, there's a lot to kind of work through. So you just have to kind of do what you can in those spaces.
Well, Martin, you just said something there, which was, about even having an event where guys go to it and feel okay to kind of just, be emotional and let some passion out, as it were. And in a way, that's, I don't know about yourself with events, but I know we've done obviously events, as John's spoken, across London at Gavin Thorpes or at Soho House or South Place Hotel.
Yeah.
And it is that kind of, we're trying to create a cool space for guys to go to, because I know for a fact that guys don't like the word safe space because it makes them sound like it's a therapy group. For us, it's about having these cool spaces where when you go to like Gavin Thorpes, you can wear what you want. We don't care what you wear, but most of the guys got dressed up. We had, Savaro Gin providing gin and tonics and soft drinks as well, obviously, and David Gandy or a guy some Strictly Come Dancing or something there. And in a way, it was like we did all that so that it was a normal, cool evening, and then we could talk about the interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And I wonder what your thoughts are on that, because we haven't ever connected. But I looked at your website and I was like, I need to speak to Martin.
No, it was a similar sort of thing. I mean, because we started doing events fairly early on, and my only thought with it was like I said, I think men are terrified that if you do a mental health thing, that it's just going to be, they're just going to walk in, it's going to be an empty room, just a circle of plastic chairs and like a whiteboard, and I think that really gives people the willies. So we just wanted to go where men are. So we just did it in pubs, just some quite decent pub venues. So you got a free beer when you came in, you could sit down, it's fairly relaxed. And we just made use of, a few famous faces to bring people in, but just essentially just making it quite chatty, and also leaving the major thing that I've found from doing events, was to leave about an hour at the end to let everyone ask questions and chat. It really was quite a remarkable thing once you started opening the floor. And I sort of found that almost everything that we were doing, everyone there had been touched by mental health or something in some way, and they were all there to kind of share it. And so it really organically sort of became something that people were participating in. It was much about them as it was about us. So that was great, and that's the best thing that we do, and that's the most exciting thing.
Yeah.
You can actually see people, light coming on.
So we've talked about men's mental health, and I guess one thing that we've got in common as being parents, and one of the driving things, I've got 2 young kids as well, is, I think it was lovely what you were saying, Anthony, as well, about just, this period of lockdown is, I'm very lucky that I have got kids to cuddle at the moment and somebody to cuddle. And I guess, coming to you, Ben, first, really, just, getting that conversation, in place. The motivation for me for talking about mental health and what's happened to me is really the motivator that I don't want my kids, when they're in their teenage years and they're having a difficult time, that they can't feel they can talk to me as their dad, or if I'm completely uncool, they can go and talk to somebody else and there'd be no big deal about it. What are you doing as a parent, Ben, or is there anything that you're kind of starting to do now to make it easier for your family to have those conversations?
Well, how are you out of 10 came from youth mentoring. I mean, it's not an original thing. And what we do with blokes is we ask them to use that to open up and start their conversation. And then everyone gives them a score, and that's what I do with my kids. So when I can see that they're sort of slightly stressed about certain things, I ask them for a score, and especially the older one, and she's nearly 8, and she sort of finds it sometimes a little bit harder to talk, but she has in the past found it harder to talk about how she's feeling. As soon as you introduce a scoring system, suddenly it makes it a lot easier for her, and then so we use it quite a lot in the house and in friendships and stuff like that, because it actually just cuts through a lot of stuff. I mean, the whole thing about all of this is that we understand how to look after our physical health. We always have done. So if we start when we start using this word mental fitness, then we start looking at it as mentally looking after ourselves, makes it a lot less complicated for me, and gives it more relevance. So we go out quite a lot, and we walk a lot, and we talk a lot. I mean, we're a very talky family, whether they like it or not. I force them to talk. So and so my son's a 5-year-old, and it's really important for me that he knows that I love him, and I tell him all the time I love him, and I give him a kiss on the lips, and he's going to get that until he's 27. But it's really, really important for me to have that type of love relationship with my son, because we did the survey. I work with a brand called Kings, and we did this survey. We found that 86% of men have not or don't regularly tell their dad they love them, and that really scared me, because of this. If they've not got that from their fathers, it's our responsibility as fathers of today to actually pass it on to our sons and our daughters, but mainly our sons, to sort of really go, powerful. It's okay to say you love your dad. It's okay to say, I mean, I say to my mates, I love you. And sort of, I think it's really important to use that word, because we do have feelings, we do have emotions. And it's, love is really, really important for me.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I think something I'll definitely take away from today's talk, you saying that, because I think the role that we can play as dads, I guess, is giving that love. And I think, it has been a generation thing. It's for my dad, I know that he loved me, but that wouldn't be the words that would be at the front of my mind that I would remember him saying to me. But I know, I feel probably, compared to my wife, I say to my kids that I love them like so many times, probably, at least, a few times each day. And I think, I don't know what anybody else thinks, if that's, that is one of the big shifts that we can make, that generational shift.
It definitely is. It's an interesting topic going on about fatherhood. We could probably all sit here and do a 2-hour thing about fatherhood and our role as a father, and maybe how we've had. And I saw that with my dad always tells me he loves me via email when we talk, and I see him a lot, but I can't actually remember him telling me he loves me. And we have a fantastic relationship, but I see with my little one, especially Hudson, who's say 3, just as Ben was saying, and it was, he said it really well. I'm the same. I tell him I love him probably 3 times a day. And sometimes he comes up and just wraps his arms around your neck and says, he loves me. And I'm like, I want that to be something that you continue to do for the rest of your life. And I think the more you do it when you're young, the more it becomes normal.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of friends who, I won't use the term because we're probably not allowed to swear, but, that have issues because they'll say one day, my dad's never said he loves me, when actually their dad loves them to bits, but saying it and they expect you to know it is 2 different things.
I think also knowing kids and having been one a long time ago, if you haven't heard that, then you think that they don't love you.
Yeah.
Because you haven't heard it. How would you know? How would you know? And you're very young, you're very naive. So you assume that they don't. And so that, that is a big shift. And I think that's a really sort of powerful thing. The only thing I would add to this is role modeling about sort of all your emotions as well, because I think kids do learn from copying. You know, they repeat everything, and that's how you get them to learn. So if they can see you at vulnerable moments, then it kind of makes it all right for them to feel like that. So, I mean, I'm by no means a model father, but one of the things that I do try to do is share my difficulties at work, or, you know, when I lost my job a couple of years back, I didn't try to sort of like hide it and, you know, go to the bottom garden and drink a bottle of gin. I was kind of like in the midst of, I'm sad because this has happened. I'm a bit unsure, or even with this coronavirus, like we're all a bit scared, to be honest, and, you know, but that's okay. And just trying to keep that dialogue going. I think if they see you do it and you're still, you know, the dad, and you're not, you know, no one's kind of laughing at me or whatever it is, I think that really helps with them. The difficulty is that then they have to go out into the real world and they're met with society, which perhaps doesn't share, you know, the vision that you've got for things. But I think as long as you've got that environment at home, I mean, that's as much as you can do. And, you know, and that is, if you look at all the problems that face men, a hell of a lot of them start in the home. They really do. And I think if you can just provide, not perfection, but just love, I love you, and that support, then, you know, that's massive.
Yeah, it's a really strong message. And Ben, were you trying to say
that we
something?
can change that.
Yeah.
I was going to say what we can, the whole hope is that the stuff that we're doing now and the stuff that our boys and girls are going to be moving into, society will be kinder. We will be sort of like, we will be able to show our emotions a lot more, and there won't be this sort of the shut up and put up that a lot of us were born into. I mean, that's the hope of all society, isn't it? We want to stop men killing themselves, but we want to actually bring an equality to feelings, I suppose, and to emotions, because I don't think there is an equality to open emotions at the moment. I think that we know about mansplaining, but to me, there's a lot. Sometimes there can be a womansplaining when it comes to feelings, and I think it takes men to explain to other men or to boys that it's okay to show your emotions. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to sort of to cry. I mean, like it's an old thing, but like when my son about a year ago, my son banged his leg on when we were in a park. He banged his leg. He hurt, and I sort of said, cry it out. I encouraged him to scream. And everyone was a little bit, my stepdad was a bit embarrassed next to me. And I sort of said, it's important for me that he screams, because I want to scream, but I was never allowed to scream. Yeah. And with society, we sort of we go, shh, to try and shut everyone up. And
try and distract them.
Yeah, and he's sort of like, he hurt his leg. He wasn't having a paddy for no reason. He actually hurt himself. And I think it's really important as fathers to make sure that we keep on keep on pushing that. I mean, you've got to remember that our fathers were products of their fathers came out of the war. Our fathers, the Gen X's, were basically stabilizers. They were trying to stabilize everything for us. That's what their job was. And us as Gen X's is sort of to actually try and make it a lot more open, a lot more freer for our children, would be my feeling anyway.
Yeah, yep, agree. And I guess we're coming close to time, as I say, the parent side of lockdown and mental health and mental fitness. We could talk about for another hour easily. I guess the kind of some wrapping up kind of points really. I'd be kind of keen. Martin, you talked about, you know, for me personally, fitness and doing a bit of running. I know, I don't run every day, and I never ever want to go for a run. But once I've, you know, finished a run, I feel so much better, and my mind feels a lot clearer for doing exercise. And going to gigs as well. You know, what we're all kind of touching on, kind of whether it's sport or gigs, to kind of get together as a group of guys and you know, have a good laugh. You know, I can't wait. I literally can't wait until I can go and see a band play. But you know, coming to you, Martin, first, really, just any other tips or advice for kind of that you do to look after your well-being that you could give to everybody watching?
Generally speaking, exercise is there. Reading is another one. Reading a book.
Book a man.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though, isn't it? It's not actually a book. It should be.
Will it be a book? Is your vision? It's you know, as somebody that has been in print for so many years, will it ever be in print, or do you want it to just be a digital?
No, I think it'll be digital. I think from here on. Too expensive, but you know, I have been writing a book actually that's coming out later this year, which is about mental health and masculinity, so the whole shebang. So I'm kind of hot off this, and I would say, and putting that together has been really interesting as to kind of what works. I think in general, it's about having a period of time to just reassess where you're at. And kind of a little bit of where you've come from, what has made you a person, and trying to just take a little bit of time to understand yourself. And I suppose that is a link to kind of meditation and a quick 5 minutes for yourself every day, but also just periods where you can just have a little bit of a break from things and try to understand whether the path that you're going down is a valuable one for you or not. Because often it isn't. I think often you end up following what other people have done, and kind of you end up tripping along on a path that perhaps isn't one that you've decided for. And I think those kind of things, really, those deeper underlying things, can really have a bad effect, you know, aside from everything, you know, all the traumas and tragedies that can happen to you. So I think, again, that's been one of the big lessons for me. It's just having a bit of time away, and try to understand who you are, you know, on whatever level that might mean, but just something to do that.
Yeah, definitely. And Ben, how about yourself?
Well, what I always do is throughout the journey of making Steve and then creating Talk Club, was I started using the numbers on myself. So what I do is I can't control what number I wake up at. Quite a lot of the time I wake up at a low number because my 2-year-old will be in with us, or my 5-year-old will have jumped on me at 4 a.m. So if I wake up at a 4 or a 5 out of 10, then I would try and work out how to get myself to a 6, how to get myself to a 7, how to get myself to an 8, and use that as a scale for me during the day. Since the lockdown, it's obviously a lot harder because you sort of your time outside is limited. But what I do is I try and compartmentalize. I do work and then I do play. So I play with the kids and try and sort of I cheer myself up with that, or I'll make them pancakes and chuck on Pharrell Happy and jump around in the kitchen if I'm feeling a bit down. So I sort of like use, but what I do is I actually use my score. I go, okay, I'm a 6. I need to get myself to a 7. How do I do that? And it might just be going for a walk or going for a run. I mean, I try and get out sort of every couple of days in the morning, but it's the tag team between me and my wife. So I suppose stay very present is basically the way that I do it. And I agree with Martin. Sort of like it's that looking at the bigger picture. Sort of like this is that extended period between Christmas and New Year where we aren't actually doing anything, so we can actually start thinking about stuff. So when things change, what will you do differently? So I've been doing a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. And Anthony, anything that hasn't already been covered that helps you with your mental fitness?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that I love exercise. I probably exercise every single day, which is what I use. But for us, a lot of the Whole Man Academy is talking about people's morning routine, and that hasn't got to be some 12-step process of meditation and what have you. It's finding a couple of things that work for you just to get you started the right way in the day. Especially for us guys, when you have got kids, it's ever changing because you might have kids wake up early, wake up late, and it's never set in stone. But having just a couple of things that help you get in the right frame of mind in the morning before emails come in and text and WhatsApps and Instagram and Twitter and all the stuff that you maybe have to deal with. It's finding just a couple of things that help you get started in the day in the right frame of mind. Hopefully, even I love the numbers check-in. I mean, it's such a simple one that sometimes the simplest things are the best, because it's easy to remember. So that's for us one of the big things, is getting started the right way in the morning. Hopefully sets you up for a more productive and more enjoyable day for you and maybe your family.
Yeah, I completely agree. Well, we're at time. I think technically we've kind of just about held it all together. Before we run away though, it'd be really good if you can just, Anthony, just tell us a bit more about just where can people find out more about the Whole Man Academy and yourself?
Certainly. So thankfully it's easy because it's all wholemanacademy.com, or we're at Whole Man Academy on mainly Instagram, but Twitter and Facebook. And you only need to click on any of those to find out my details. But my email is anthony@wholemanacademy.com.
Amazing. And Martin, with the Book of Man, is it this the bookofman.com, is it?
It is, yeah. Bought that early. Yeah. Cost me a few £100, but yeah, got that. Yeah, there's that. And then the Book of Man on Instagram as well. That's where you'll find us.
Fantastic. So Ben, over to you. How do we find out about the single and the work that you're doing with Talk Club?
So if you go to wetalkclub.com, you'll be able to find out about the community, the Facebook groups, the private Facebook groups, Facebook group a physical group near you. We've got our podcasts on there. We've got all our merch on there, and the single. You can buy the single via that. And if anyone wants to be in contact, go to email me at ben@wetalkclub.com.
Amazing. Okay, well, thank you very, very much for joining us on this extra special MenTALK Getahead virtual festival. Hopefully we can do this talk again physically together, and maybe Martin, you don't have to join in with the hugging, but
yes, you do.
I'll just stand in the middle like that and then just gather around me. Yeah. No, I'll consent.
Great. Well, thanks very much for your time, and thanks for everybody for watching this morning.